Okay, and so the first step when you are working through this is you need to know what your k value is. Okay, so if you want to find your k value, what you can do is you know that this culture here starts with 380. That's your initial amount. Okay, and so if you set up 380 for your a sub 0 times e to the power of, you don't know k, but then you do know a set of t and a values here. This t corresponds to this a of t, and so you get 1520 is equivalent to when the time is 4. Okay, so this is the first equation that you're going to use, and you're going to solve for k. Once you find what k is, you can round it to 4 decimals and place it in this function here. So in this particular problem, what you would do is you can use the solve feature, or if you break it down, you're going to divide both sides by 380. You're then going to take the natural or common log of both sides. Since we have a base e here, I'm going to use the natural log, and that's going to give me ln of 1520 over 380 is equal to, and when I write the ln of e to the 4k, remember, I can use the properties of powers inside a log, move that out front. So this 4k is going to be moved in front. And then ln of e has an overall value of 1, so I can discard that the expression. It's just a value of 1. And then to solve for k completely, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And this gives me my k value. So this is my exact k value here. So what I want to do when I write my equation is I'm going to write it as my original population, which is 380, times e to the power of k, so I need to calculate that value, and I want to round it to 4 decimal places. So if I take that calculation, ln of 1520 over 380, and then I'm going to divide that by 4. I'll put a decimal in my entry so it displays as a decimal, and I get 0.3466. So there's my k value rounded to 4 decimal places, and then I have my t at the end. So this is my equation. Okay. And then the other two questions, they specifically will ask you on your version of this question. It'll say, using the formula or the equation that you just established here, what will be the population after 5 hours? So what you now need to do is take this equation and rewrite that. So here on my screen, 380 times e to the power of, and I'm not going to use the exact value here, I'm using the rounded value, times t. Okay, so what I've done is I've just copied my, my whole equation here. The first thing wants me to find what's the population after 5 hours, meaning at a time t. So I'll use my with key right here. So vertical bar t equals, and I'll plug in 5. In doing that, I'll get my solution of 2149 point, it doesn't say what to round to, so I'll just leave it as 2149. Okay, now remember, this is the case where it hasn't quite, even though we would normally round this answer up, okay, it hasn't actually gotten to 2150 yet, right? So it's not until somewhere past hour 5 that it's going to hit that 2150. So even though the rounding rules would tell you to round that up, this is the problem that you truncate. Okay, just cut it off, and whatever comes in front of the decimal is going to be your solution because you haven't quite reached that next number. Okay, and then the second part, or the last part to this, is how long, what value of t will give you a population of 2630. Again, this one asks you to round to 2 decimal places. So if I come back in here and I take my equation that I set up and I set that whole thing equal to 2630 and I solve for t, I can go to the front of this and I can use the solve feature here. And so I take my 380 times e to the power of 0.3466 t, set it equal to the goal population, and that's going to give me my value of t, the time it's going to take, and that would be 5.58 approximately hours for my population to reach 2630.